Yu-Gi-Oh! The Sacred Cards is a Game Boy Advance game based on the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime and developed and published by Konami. Unlike most of the previous games in the series, this game has a story behind it. It is based in the Battle City arc of Season 2's anime, and the player assumes the role of Yugi's friend and tries to compete in the Battle City tournament. You start with one located card, and your goal is to obtain 6 located cards in total, which are received by beating certain characters like Bones, Weevil, Mako, Esperota, and Rex. After all the located cards are obtained, you have an opportunity to then go into the Battle City Finals. However, Merrick has a gang of card thieves who are trying to disrupt the Battle City tournament and obtain all 3 Egyptian god cards so Merrick can bring the world into darkness. These ghouls eventually take over the whole city. Even the owner of the card shop that you can go to works for Merrick and tries to kill you. On our journey to the finals, you meet up with a Shizu. She challenges you to a duel to see if you're really as strong as everyone says, and wants to make sure that you are able to wield an Egyptian god card. After beating her in a game, you then have to beat Seto Kaiba, who is the organizer of this little playdate that you have going on. After beating this egotistical maniac, you obtain your first of the 3 god cards. Once you get to what we can call the playoffs of the finals, you go up against Merrick. But after beating him, turns out that it is not actually really Merrick. It was somebody who is Merrick's servant. In the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime, we know him as Odeon. The real Merrick was the person that we met earlier in the game, known as Namu. Plus, he starts stealing souls once he actually wins, taking everybody to the Shadow Realm. Merrick defeats Kaiba, we defeat Yugi, and now we are set to face Merrick in the finals. We win, well, depending on how many times it takes you, but we end up winning, and Finn, the game is over, you won the big tournament, Yu-Gi-Oh! Calls you the king of games, Merrick and Bakura invite you to the party they're throwing in the Shadow Realm. Kaiba looks at you and says that you don't actually count as a real person, but you're basically better than Joey Wheeler is what he's trying to say. And everybody's party rocking in the house tonight. Well, until you turn the game off. The game can't actually be saved after you beat Merrick. It's so once the game is beaten, you have to technically restart from the last save point. All the money you've earned, all the rare cards you've won, the battle with Merrick basically didn't happen. It's like a Groundhog Day effect with Bill Murray and how even though you keep winning, you can never save and continue past that point. As a kid, I watched Yu-Gi-Oh! Almost every day after school. I played the card games. I own multiple Yu-Gi-Oh! Games, whether they be for a console or for a handheld. But this one here was the one I remember the most. It really makes me believe that I am actually in Duelist Kingdom and in Battle City, and I'm part of the Yu-Gi-Oh! World, as we can say, fighting alongside Joey and Mai and Yugi and everybody in the gang. It feels like I was the one who actually defeated Merrick, and I'm the one who helped save the world from going to darkness. But nowadays, trying to play this game again, I can barely remember what Pot of Greed does.
I activate the magic card, Pot of Greed. It allows me to draw 2 more cards.
Pot of Greed lets me draw 2 cards from my deck.
Now, I activate my Pot of Greed magic card, so I can draw 2 cards.
Then I'll activate my Pot of Greed. This lets me draw 2 cards. Next, I play Pot of Greed. This allows me to take 2 cards from my deck and add them to my hand.
I'll start by activating Pot of Greed! And you know what that means. I get to draw...
Thanks everybody for reminding me what Pot of Greed does. I really appreciate it. Just because I love this game so much doesn't mean it's not flawed. The game itself is limited to running around and finding opponents to duel. Sure, that's the point of the game, but If you don't know the layout of where to go, it can be a real pain finding out who to talk to or what person has a locator card. While battling the AI opponents, it can seem like the game is set on easy mode. Is that a good thing or a bad thing, depending on your skill? That's up for you to decide, but it feels like you could win these duels with 20 pots of greed and 20 Karibo and you're set. There is little motivation to improve your deck. You may win the rarest cards from every opponent, but trying to assemble a deck takes way too much thinking. You have to defeat duelists to level up, and every time you level up, you end up gaining space for your deck capacity. Sure, there's ways to cheat to grow your deck capacity, but if you're not willing to put in the hundreds of hours to do so, then you're going to be out of luck. It feels like the golden game that little JimmyJayShals played had more flaws than I ever thought it could be. If you were looking for a multiplayer dueling game, then you're out of luck here. The Sacred Cards is strictly a single-player game. There's no real challenge since you can't play against other humans. Maybe it feels like a challenge when you go up against Merrick, but one guy in the whole game as a challenge compared to playing against other people in real life or having the game set to a harder difficulty. Well, that says it all. Are there better Yu-Gi-Oh games? Yeah, definitely. But at least it's not Yu-Gi-Oh! The False-Bound Kingdom. Yeah, sorry, False-Bound Kingdom fans. It's a no from me, dog. With that being said, sushi chop the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, guys. I really mean it. Thanks again.